Hello and welcome to Your Health Reclaimed with DrPND, where we help you reclaim your health with tips, tools, and resources to live your most optimal and vibrant life. Here's your host, DrPND.
Hello and welcome to Your Health Reclaimed. This is your host, DrPND. I'm really excited about today's episode because we're going to talk have an honest conversation about a no-nonsense issue, about something that affects every single one of us. And that is what we put into our bodies every single day through food. Now, nutrition is one of those topics, guys, as everyone thinks that they understand. But so many of the people I meet in practice, who are honestly smart, hardworking, well-meaning people, are unknowingly sabotaging their health through common, avoidable nutritional and dietary mistakes. All those folks have read the magazines, followed the trends, watched the documentaries, follow the latest and the greatest internet guru and influencer, and still end up tired, inflamed, foggy, struggling with energy and struggling to, lose the proper amount of weight or build muscle, depending what, their goals are. So in this episode, we're going to break down the top worst dietary nutritional mistakes people make and how you can avoid them. My goal is to help you see food for what really is. It is fuel. It is natural medicine, as Hippocrates said that, and information for your body. So let's get right into it. We're going to start from top to bottom. So mistake number 10, and that is trusting labels like natural or organic. This one is at the top for a reason. Too many people walk through grocery aisles thinking if the label says natural or organic, it must be good for them. Unfortunately, those words are mostly marketing. The food industry is brilliant at using buzzwords to make basically you feel safe and healthy while selling processed junk food. A couple of years ago, we were at a grocery store and we're checking out one of the chains up in North Carolina that had like a natural organic market. And at checkout had Hershey bars. I'm like, well, what is a Hershey bar doing in a organic grocery store? And it was basically a chocolate bar made by Hershey's, and it was organic. So it was really mind-boggling that just said organic on there. But thinking that you can buy good food or even something that is supposed to be a healthy treat and it's organic, means nothing. And sure enough, it was loaded with highly refined white sugar and other garbage. But as long as they claimed it was organic, it was good. So this is something that really people need to pay attention, because I see it all the time. That the delusion that you're buying labeled foods as natural, organic is really something. And the worst offenders of that is when people actually buy junk food and ultra processed foods that are dangerous for them. But as long as they say natural, organic, they got them fooled, and people fall for that stuff. So, for example, as I said with the chocolate bar, like things like organic sugar, okay, that's still sugar. The process of refining organic certified cane sugar into white sugar and inorganic cane sugar is the same. The process making white table sugar is the same. Makes no difference whether it's organic or not. That's about as stupid as people, buying organic soybean oil, which is an industrial seed, highly chemically refined seed oil that is horrible for you. Same with the sunflower, safflower, peanut oil, corn oil. They're all the same. It is highly refined, highly processed through a very, very complex chemical processes. These are the industrial seed oils that are very metabolically damaging to the system. They're literally metabolic poisons. But you can go to even Whole Foods and get organic soybean or canola oil. That makes any difference. So it's really ridiculous. to fall for these things because these ingredients are still dangerous. Another one I see all the time is natural flavoring. This is often a lab-made chemical blend. It means absolutely nothing. Even non-GMO doesn't automatically mean nutritious or safe, because you can still have a non-GMO corn that is conventionally grown, for example, that it's bad for you, or processed food that is made with non-GMO corn, even if it's organic corn, and still has the damaging effect of highly refined foods. So what matters in the ingredient list is the nutrient density of what you're eating. So if you turn a package around and if you look at the ingredients, don't look at the nutritional facts label, look at the ingredient label. And if you can't really pronounce any one of those ingredients, it doesn't resemble anything like you recognize as food in nature, that's an immediate red flag. Okay, and just avoid that. Your best defense is to focus on real food. Okay, I always say, prefer the organic, whole food that is nutrient dense. And that's your meat, fish, seafood, eggs, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, high quality dairy, and so forth. We're not talking about specifics of if you have allergy or food sensitivity, or you have issues that you're trying to deal with and certain foods have to be taken out, perhaps. But I'm talking about in general, okay, choosing high quality, organic, nutrient dense foods. So if you wouldn't look like a food to a human being from basically, 5,000 years ago, it's probably not something your body is designed to handle today, regardless. It really is that simple. That's one of the probably easiest ways to look at things. If there's something that your ancestors, at least a few hundred years ago, before any kind of processed food existed, if they wouldn't eat it, they didn't eat it, then that is definitely not something that you should be eating too. If you want to be extra sure, go back a few thousand years ago, where things were as pure God, and this is where ultimately, your answer will lie. So, do not trust labels with natural, organic. Read the ingredient list on the back. Okay, so let's go to number 9. Believing the media or even your doctor has all the nutritional answers. Okay, this one can be uncomfortable to talk about, but it's important. Most mainstream nutrition information is driven by corporate interests, not by what's best for your biology. Okay, so that includes a lot of what you hear from the media, big food companies, and yes, sometimes even from the conventional medical training. A lot of people don't understand this, but U.S. licensed medical physicians, really any physicians, that are medical doctors, are, most of them who are competent are incredible at treating, disease and saving lives, such as infections, trauma, acute conditions. But most receive less than a few hours of actual nutrition education in medical school, a semester at best. And that's an optional aspect. So the system is focused on disease management, not prevention or optimization. That is something that is very hard for people to understand. And so that's not, again, to knock on physicians. It's simply the structure of the modern medicine infrastructure that we have right now. That might change. There's a lot of medical doctors who are going the holistic, integrative, functional medical route, and that's amazing. But that is something that they have to train on their own. They have to spend their own money to train. They cannot pull out student loans to go to those classes. They have to pay out of pocket. They obviously, it's a lot cheaper than medical school by default, but regardless, they have to invest their own time, their own money, and find that training themselves. So it's not as of yet part of a very strong infrastructure in medicine and medical school systems that people have the option to do. I believe someday will be. Holistic, integrative, functional medical infrastructure will become part of that, and should become part of that, because that is the only true way to be able to deal with the chronic disease epidemic that we have. Medication and disease management is not going to cut it. So keep that in mind. Again, believing the media or even your doctor has all the nutritional answers. Be very mindful of that, because that is not true. A lot of people go to the doctor and the doctor will say, oh, everything was good in the basic blood work. and yeah, this is okay, this is not okay. Yeah, no, it's not a problem for to eat white bread. Just keep the junk food to a minimum. Or they'll recommend some kind of generic supplement. Big mistake I see all the time. Yeah, just take vitamin D3 alone. No with vitamin K1 and K2. No with the other lipid soluble vitamins. Without even measuring blood panels to see what the levels are. It's just a simple, well-meaning mistakes that are really inaccurate. So that's something that keep that in mind because it's very important. Mistake number 8: thinking the junk food in moderation is okay. So we all heard the phrase, right? Everything in moderation. Well, but the phrase has probably done more harm than good. And I've seen this in my industry all the time because here's the truth. Some foods are so toxic, there is no safe amount. Okay. There simply isn't. People that come to me for help and they truly follow protocol, they change their lives, they change their nutritional habits, they start to reap the benefits almost immediately. They feel phenomenal within months. And the minute they go back to even eating, not even moderation, I'm talking like minuscule amounts. Now they'll go to a ball game, for example, or a wedding or a big event, and they'll treat themselves to usually a combination of alcohol with some kind of junk food. It can be cake, it can be cookies, can be some fried food that they might have made, or the ball game garbage like hot dogs and pretzels, highly refined other garbage, and they'll feel horrendous. So even though that ingestion of ultra processed food that they ate, the junk food they ate, was literally only maybe a 100th, if or less, of what they've ingested the last few months, it triggers a response and sets them back sometimes weeks from where they were. And so there's really no such thing as moderation. You never go to an alcoholic or somebody who struggles with alcohol and say, well, let's just keep the drinking in moderation. Okay, let's just have one drink a day or every other day or a couple a week. No, it's complete 100% abstinence. That's what people don't understand. They have a really hard time with that. As I said before, I literally have seen this truth that some of those foods and most of those foods that people ingest are really, really toxic. And that phrase alone has done a lot more harm to people. Here's what people have to understand: trans fats, hydrogenated oils, artificial sweeteners, colorings, uh, preservatives, things like MSG. These things are damaging even in small amounts. Okay, they inflame your body, disrupt hormonal outputs, interfere with brain chemistry, cause gut damage and imbalance, and a lot of other things. Your body doesn't know what to do with those foods. And honestly, sometimes it can take years to fully eliminate their effects and them out of the system. A lot of people don't know this, but industrial seed vegetable oils, those unnatural omega-6s that they contain, are so toxic. But aside from that, it can take somebody over 2 years to completely clear those lipid molecules out of their body completely once they have been using them for years. Okay. It's a hard concept to understand, but it really does. And they do affect your health. I always, often tell my clients that the idea of moderation, with poison doesn't make sense. Okay. You wouldn't play a Russian roulette in moderation. Okay. Like alcohol, when somebody's turning with drugs and alcohol, you're not going to give a moderation of drugs and alcohol. Okay. The food we ingest should nourish, not harm us. Every meal is an opportunity to either build health or tear it down. It's simple as that. When you eat clean consistently, you stop craving junk food. The last time I ingested a cookie or a chocolate cake or candy bar, I used to love Twix and Kit Kat and Snickers when I first came to this country. A lot of people know my story. The last time I had any of that garbage was over 2 decades ago. And when I began my journey, now granted, I didn't have the ability, to know what I had now, or the supplements or the nutritional, wisdom and knowledge that I have now, and not having anybody to guide me. I had to figure things out myself. And back then, the information was not good. But it took me over 7 years to completely detox my body of junk food. I used to love cheesecake. I used to love like croissants, donuts, like I said, like chocolate chip cookies, like little Oreo cookies. They used to love, Kit Kat and Twix were my favorite. Uh, you know, Snickers bar I used to eat quite a bit. My mom would make chocolate cakes, or I'll buy chocolate cakes. And even though I was not eating this every single day, it didn't matter. I was addicted to those foods. So it took me literally about 7 years to completely detoxify those foods out of my system and for my taste buds to change. And I never looked back. I don't crave those foods. I can smell them. I can see them. I've seen our people numerous times eating in front of me. I have zero desire for that. And you can get to that level, okay? Your brain and your body realign with what real food is supposed to feel like, okay? Integrity with your nutrition is honestly one of the most empowering habits that you can build, okay? And whoever said that phrase, everything moderation, was a moron and honestly a loser and never did anything 100% worthy of accomplishment in their lives. I can guarantee you that. That is an absolute promise. So everything moderation is about as dumb as it gets. And again, it can lead people astray and do a lot more harm than good. So I know we went off on a tangent here, but that one is important to truly understand because I see it all the time. All right, let's go to mistake number 7. Following government guidelines and food pyramid based on the USDA, food pyramid regulations. So if you've ever looked at the government food pyramid and thought that can't be right, well, your instincts are probably correct. As a matter of fact, they were correct for a fact. Those guidelines were created with heavy influence from the grain and processed food industries. They recommend excessive carbohydrates and in form of actually refined carbohydrates, minimal fats, and moderate protein. Exactly the opposite of what many bodies need for stable energy and hormonal balance, among many other things. Just look at the results of decades following those recommendations. Like we have rising rates of obesity exponentially, diabetes, heart disease, still number one killer, and autoimmune disorders like never before. Okay, let's not even talk about autism and all the other stuff. But when it comes to strictly metabolic, obesity, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, which obviously is prelude to that type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and autoimmune disorders are rampant and are skyrocketing, okay, at exponential rates every decade. Government agencies mean well, but they are slow to change, and their policies don't reflect modern nutritional science whatsoever. A better approach is the ancestral, whole, preferably organic, high nutrient dense, completely unprocessed foods, okay, from clean, healthy animal proteins, fish, seafood, healthy fats, vegetables, and fruits is your foundation. That is how our physiology evolved. And that's what keeps metabolism, hormones, and the brain functioning optimally. That is just a fact. Okay, a lot of people come to me, some are vegans, some are vegetarians. And even though they might eat very clean, organically, generally speaking, they're very healthy, it's still not optimal because you'll never see a single past or present, especially past culture, indigenous culture, that is completely plant-based, whether it's vegan, vegetarian, whatever you want to, call it, and whatever little, hooks you want to start hanging on to. But ultimately, that are eating nothing but plants. Not a single culture can show. And that's why I have a very big problem with, the Blue Zone and Dan Butner, because even though he did a great job of, bringing to front a lot of the habits of centenarians and people that are truly, generally speaking, very healthy, a lot healthier than the populations here, you see that, but the nutritional aspect he has gotten wrong. And there's I believe a strict reason for that is because he was definitely sponsored by the processed food industries directly or indirectly, including Coca-Cola and so forth. Okay, I know some of those cultures personally, including the Mediterranean cultures. Okay, the Icarians. Okay, they are not vegetarian. They are not plant-based. They actually have a very heavy meat consumption. So again, I know we went off a tangent here, but a lot of people get tripped on that. And that's something that perhaps I should have had as a point here, in addition to all those other mistakes. But as I said before, you know, our physiology, has evolved with those whole nutrient-dense foods, as a staple, and that's from depending on your genetics, depending on your bioindividuality, but that is, clean, healthy animal products, proteins, seafood, okay, healthy fats, and that includes from animal sources as well as plant sources, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds. But keep that in mind. This is very, very important because the USDA government-based food guidelines are very erroneous. All right, so let's go to mistake number 6. Thinking that being slim automatically is meaning healthy. I see this all the time, especially when we used to have our facilities and we used to, work with people in person with fitness, nutrition, lifestyle. We used to see this all the time. People assume if they're thin, they're healthy. But looking good on the outside absolutely does not guarantee health on the inside. As a matter of fact, a lot of times in modern society, it can be opposite. You can be slim and have insulin resistance. You can be slim, have high inflammation. You can be thin and slim if you have nutrient deficiencies, heart disease. Okay, you can be thin and still have type 2 diabetes. You can still be slim and suffer from fatigue, anxiety, poor digestion, hormonal imbalances. So health isn't about size. Yeah, it's about function. Okay, now I've seen the opposite. Now, I've never seen morbidly obese people that are healthy. Just let me get this clear. But I've seen people that are a little overweight, pudgy, whatever you want to call them, that have phenomenal health, generally speaking. So that's, again, health isn't about size. It's about function. Okay, things like how's your sleep, how's your digestion, your energy throughout the day, your mood and focus. Okay, do you have any discomfort and pain in the musculoskeletal system? How are you able to live and function and move throughout the day? These tell a far more accurate story than a number on a scale. And now, especially with the wave of GLP-1 antagonist drugs, like the Wegovy and the Ozempics, you're seeing this all the time. People look good in clothes. They're slim. They've dropped, 50, 100, 150 pounds, some more perhaps, and they're busted and disgusted. Yeah, horrible sleep pattern, horrible digestion, fatigue, muscle mass has gone to nothing. High cortisol, low testosterone, low estrogen. I mean, you see those dysregulations all the time. So, it's really getting out of hand. But weight can be one indicator, for sure, but it's not the definition of health. And this is nowadays what people have truly gone after. Okay. Don't chase thinness, chase vitality, optimal health and vitality. When you feel your body properly, your ideal weight will care of itself. It will literally take care of itself every single time. That's when people start with us, they start to feel better within weeks, if not days sometimes, depending on what's going on. And whatever their natural body is and needs and it wants, it will auto-regulate. People that need to lose weight, and that is the form of fat and water, they will do so without even trying. If they're debilitated, they have low muscle mass, they'll put on muscle mass. If they're skinny fat, what is called, low, basically sarcopenia, ultimately, what it boils down to, but they have low muscle mass and high body fat, okay, and they might weigh a certain weight, their weight might not change, but they'll lose the extra body fat and put on the needed muscle mass for their physiology, whatever the genetic requirement is. So again, don't chase thinness, chase vitality. And when you eat properly, your ideal weight will literally take care of itself. Okay, so remember, that's a very important one as well. Okay, let's talk about mistake number 5, using vitamins, minerals, supplements, doesn't matter if they're clinical, high grade, it doesn't matter, to make up for a poor diet. A supplement is just that. It supplements an already healthy diet or temporarily addresses a deficiency that needs to be addressed, and then back when it's normal, then the person goes back to maintaining with optimal healthy diet. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with supplements. Okay, I use them in my clinic all the time. They're a staple for many people, but I use them strategically in practice. Okay, but the keyword is strategically. Okay, supplements are meant to supplement a solid foundation, not replace it. That's one of the key factors with people is I will not take them as clients unless they're willing to change their nutritional habits. And to this day, people are under the misconception that they can take all those supplements, even if they have $1,000 plus a month to spend, which some people do, and they have no problem taking 50 pills a day or more. And they have the misconception that they can go have that proverbial cake and eat it too. They can't. It will never work. Okay. Yes, can you normalize the vitamin D level, vitamin A, retinol, vitamin E, vitamin C? Sure, you can with supplements. Absolutely. That does not mean, however, that you're addressing the multicellular needs of your body nutritionally, and you will get other nutritional deficiencies, which in turn, by default, are going to cause some kind of dysfunction in your metabolic health. So supplements, again, are meant to supplement a solid foundation, not replacing. Nutrition always comes first. Let me give you a quick example. I'll have people that will come in and they have a severe deficiency in vitamin D, vitamin B6, for example, vitamin B12. They say, well, I want to eat a nutritious diet. I'm okay with it. I don't want to take any supplements. Okay, rarely, but you have those folks. That's something against supplements, not a problem. I have to explain to them that depending on their levels, but I had a gentleman last month, he had a severe deficiency of B12 as long as vitamin D. Like his level was like 12, which says severe deficiency on the vitamin D, nanograms per deciliter. I had to explain to him that it's going to take a very long time and you have to eat certain foods to be able to bring this back up to at least a low optimal level, let alone optimal level. And things are, you have to eat liver, you have to eat certain organs. Well, he was not willing to eat that. He didn't like that. He had no problem with meat, but he didn't like organs. I had to explain to him that's not going to happen. Okay. He's also retinol oil is very deficient. And I had to explain to him there's really no other foods they're going to be able to truly replace that long term. So anyway, he didn't listen. He tried. We tried. He got a lot of other issues resolved. He felt good. His levels definitely increased. But after 6 months, his vitamin D was at 28, which is still deficient. Now, being 12 to 28, well, it's well over 100%, obviously, increase. That's great. But it's so far gone that, he couldn't do it with food. So even after another 6 months, he was barely at 35, which is not optimal by any means. So finally he broke and I had to explain to him that, if you either do that or you're going to forget about optimal levels. And sure enough, he got on a few supplements and he was able to get to optimal levels within 120 days of, getting on that protocol. So supplements have their place. And when you have a deficiency, it's much cheaper and easier and more efficient to address those deficiencies and optimize those levels with an already strong nutritional foundation. Afterwards, as long as you have a strong nutritional foundation and you keep it up, you can most certainly get off of supplements and stay off of them at least for a while. And every once in a while, you just have to kind of recalibrate things at low doses for a short period of time, depending on what's going on. Or in general, again, if you're very vigilant with your nutrition, you can avoid taking the period. So this is something that, it's really hard for people to understand. You can't out-supplement a bad diet. No capsule won't do on processed food, sugar, lack of nutrients from real living food. Okay, the supplement industry is massive. And unfortunately, it capitalizes on people's desire for a quick fix. Let me explain that. Last part, the desire for a quick fix. Oftentimes, I'll get people saying, well, I don't want to go to medical doctor already. They're not able to help me out. I don't want to take all those medications. What can I take naturally as a supplement to fix that? And I tell them nothing. There's absolutely nothing you're going to be able to take to fix that, whatever the issue might be. Okay, there's no supplement. There's no supplement programs. I don't care if you're willing to take 200 pills a day, you're still not going to be able to address that. I get this all the time. So, I use supplements. I use clinical grade, independent, third-party tested, high quality, very pure nutraceuticals. You guys know that. But still, the reality is that any supplement company to a point will capitalize on the fact that people want a quick fix. Okay, it's just a fact, especially the run-of-the-mill companies that are selling in regular grocery stores, Amazon, and so forth. So, if you're eating poorly and hoping that a multivitamin, mineral, antioxidant will cover your bases, it won't. Big mistake. Focus on correcting the diet first. Again, clean, high quality, animal-based proteins, seafood, healthy fats, vitamins and minerals from organic fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and proper hydration is what's going to do it. So if you guys notice, the bottom line is all the same thing. Whole, organic, preferably nutrient-dense food. Once the foundation is there, then targeted supplementation can enhance what you're already doing right. Okay. This is why supplements didn't exist back in the day before really 1800s, because there was no processed food. The processed food industry, the inception of it, began in the mid 1800s, little by little. I'm not going to go into that, but this is what happened and how things happened little by little. And coincidentally, the first supplements that were developed were in the early 1900s, predominantly from Standard Process, a company developed by Dr. Royal Lee. He was just a genius. He was among the first one to actually create a whole food based vitamin called Catalin. It was literally a blend of organic grains, things like rye, barley, wheat, other stuff, that he made into capsules. He extracted them and made the powder into a capsule. Not capsule, tablet. There's no capsules back then. He started the company in, I believe, 1939, which is now known as Standard Process. And they have true whole food-based vitamins and minerals. And this is the reason, because him, unlike, as well as other people, sounded the alarm that if, people continue to eat those processed foods on a regular basis, they will suffer harm. And sure enough, they were right, 100%. Back in 1905, Harvey H. Wiley, MD. He was, I think, the head of the board of directors of the former Food and Drug Administration, or Food and Drug of America, which is the former FDA. And him and a few of his colleagues got ousted because they started speaking up against the processed food industries, and those foods, the vegetable oils, the refined sugar, and the white bleached refined flours are damaging people's health. Okay, so things go deep, and they go way before a lot of people even think and realize. So again, supplements, there's a proper time and a place with the correct high quality product. But first and foremost, the diet has to be addressed. Okay, let's move on. Mistake number 4, believing exercise cancels out poor nutrition. So exercise, the proper exercise, is an amazing addition to a healthy lifestyle for the body and for the mind. No question, everybody knows that. But it is not the get out of junk food jail free card that people think it is, because it's not on any level. You can burn off bad food. You can burn calories, sure, but you can't burn off the insulin spike, the inflammatory response, or the hormonal chaos that comes from processed foods, especially things like trans fats that are made from industrial seed vegetable oils and ultra fine carbohydrates like sugars and the whole wheat bleached flours and so forth. You can't. Movement is definitely medicine, but food is information for your body. Exercise and nutrition work together. They always have the best. That's why we've been doing this since 1997. Exercise and nutrition. The late Jack Lane, which is kind of like the modern father of fitness and nutrition, everybody knew. He used to say, exercise is king, nutrition is queen. And it's just a very, very, very true statement because they complement each other absolutely the best. Okay. But one cannot undo the other. Okay. If you train hard but eat poorly, you are stressing your body twice as much. If you eat well and move intelligently, your body thrives. Okay. I used to see this all the time back in Florida. We used to have our facilities. People do the marathons, and boy, afterwards they'll go to the Dunkin' Donuts. Depends who's sponsored. It was either Krispy Kreme, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks was sponsored, Pizza Hut was sponsored sometimes. So people run, do a half marathon, full marathon, whatever the hell, obviously burn an insane amount of calories. Nobody's going to argue that. And so after they finish, whoever, again, was sponsoring, sometimes all three were sponsoring the event, they'll start getting macchiatos, Cokes, donuts, pizzas, garbage upon garbage, and thinking that they're rewarding themselves because they quote unquote earned it because they just ran a marathon. In all reality, they're doing horrendous stuff to the body because now they just ran a marathon or half one. They went through a tremendous amount of inflammatory response because that's a severe stress in the body. Okay, that's why nobody runs a marathon every day. Okay, and now that inflammation and high insulin sensitivity, they're going in there feeding their body garbage and poison, metabolic poison. And I remember even having clients I used to warn, like, don't, you run the marathon, great, don't eat bad afterwards. Some listened, they felt great. The people that didn't listen pay the price. Had a hard time recovering for days on end after that. They all felt horrible. A lot of them actually got nauseated. Again, you cannot outdo poor nutrition with exercise. So always think of it like this. Exercise is the spark. Nutrition is the fuel. You need both for a steady flame. Okay. If that helps anybody, that's a good analogy. Okay, mistake number 3, believing the genetics are your destiny, hands down, black and white. Not true. I love this topic because it's very empowering. Okay. Your genes are not your fate. Okay. You may have predispositions, genetic predispositions more certainly, which a lot of people do. But what determines whether those genes are expressed or stay dormant is largely determined by your lifestyle, which is going to be your nutrition, exercise, mindset, environment, and overall habits. That is what's called epigenetics. And that is something that most people mostly have full control over. Okay. Modern epigenetics shows that you control, depending on what statistics you're looking at, but 80 to 97% of how your genes express themselves. That means through daily choices, you can switch health promoting genes on and disease promoting genes off. Okay. Just because your mother got breast cancer absolutely does not mean that you're going to have to get breast cancer. Okay. Just because your whole family is obese just does not mean that you have to be obese. Yes, genetics matter. I see it all the time. There are people that can veer off slightly and start putting on tremendous amount of body fat on. And that's why their whole family is morbidly obese. But on the other hand, they can completely control that and live normal, healthy lives with not being obese, not even overweight, with the proper lifestyle habits, which is primarily nutrition, exercise, and environment. So this is why our diet, stress levels, sleep, mindset, matter so much. Okay, you're not stuck repeating your family's health history unless you repeat their habits. I'm telling you, every single time. Okay, in my family, on my father's side, my uncle, my father, my grandmother has severe varicose veins, severe. Okay, my dad has surgeries on both legs. The first time they removed like close to 3/4 of a pound of like varicose veins. It was insane. And his leg looked like a balloon. He used to have problems with it and so forth. Other than that, he was very healthy, generally speaking, and functional. But yeah, he used to work on his feet, so they used to bother him so much towards the end of the day. It was sometimes agony, right? And he got those varicose veins, and he started getting them in his 30s, okay, early 30s. And they kept growing worse and worse. Same with my uncle, okay. I don't have varicose veins. I have the potential varicose veins. Yeah, I very easily can develop them, but I don't, and that is strictly because of my lifestyle. I live on a daily basis. I have so many other examples. My wife's family, most of them are diabetic, have insulin resistance, heart disease, type 2 diabetes. Her insulin response and blood sugar handling capability is absolutely perfect. So again, okay, you do not have to repeat your family's health history unless you repeat their habits. That's a very, very important aspect to understand, a very powerful statement. So mistake number 2, thinking that healthy eating means giving up enjoyment. One of the biggest myths about healthy living is that it's bland or restrictive. People assume that they have to give up good flavor, fat, or satisfaction. And the truth is, real food actually tastes incredible. Okay. And if you don't believe me, go to a very expensive, very high-end restaurant, okay, where the chef picks the food daily. They usually buy it themselves daily, they select daily, and you'll see how incredible it tastes. And one of the biggest reasons for that is not because they were so absolutely incredible chefs. No, it's because they use tremendously fresh and high-quality nutrient-dense ingredients. Okay. And they know how to pick and they also know how to combine them. And then when they combine them, they also, part of that is making them the whole meal very nutritionally dense. Right. So this is something that, it is. And the reason people also confuse severely, think all things are boring, is because they're so addicted to the highly refined processed junk foods that they eat on a daily basis that anything else doesn't taste good to them. I'll give you an example. Typical scenario, again, seen it from 1997. People come to us back then, now, but hey, I want to either lose weight or I want to, reverse a chronic condition. I want to address this, feel good. And you do a dietary analysis of the daily food habits. It's almost always some kind of processed food. Whatever they might be eating Chick-fil-A, they might be eating McDonald's, they might be eating Subway, they might be eating some like Pizza Hut or whatever it might be. It is some form of junk food. And any junk food, aside from the chemicals, is going to have, when I say junk food, I mean also processed food, is going to have, aside from the chemicals, like the artificial sweetness, preservatives, colorings, anti-caking agents, and so forth, dough conditioner, stabilizers, any chemical. Aside from that, is going to have 1, 2, or all 3 of the ingredients of industrial seed vegetable oils, but whether unhydrogenated, partially hydrogenated, or fully hydrogenated, is going to contain some kind of form of highly refined sugar, which is white table sugar, or whether it's high fructose corn syrup, which is the worst of them all, or is going to also contain wheat flour that is being white bleached wheat highly refined flour. That's any junk food is going to contain that. So when people come to us, they'll literally be eating the same stuff every day. One of the examples I'll give you is that people usually go in the morning to work and they'll pick up Starbucks and they'll have the same thing, a macchiato with something and a croissant, or they'll go to McDonald's and pick number 3 or 4 or 5, whatever, on the breakfast menu. Dunkin' Donuts, the same thing. Garbage. So they eat the same thing. For lunch, same pattern. Dinner, usually the same pattern. I'm not counting if they go on a restaurant on the weekends or something. So basically, the foods are pretty much absolutely the same. They come to us, we do a nutritional analysis, metabolic analysis, we do all the testing, we dial in all the foods that are healthy for them. And usually they'll have over a few hundred options of what they can eat, like 20, 30 options for meat, seafood, vegetables, at least 30, 40. Again, depending on what they're sensitive or allergic to, whatever. So the combinations of those is incredible. Okay. You don't have to literally eat the same food or same type of meal, okay, for a year straight. Yet they'll have the audacity to come to me after 2 or 3 weeks and say that, oh, they're bored. I don't have much to eat. Well, what do you mean you have much to eat? So you have no problem every single morning ordering number 3 on the McDonald's menu, and then for lunch, having a hamburger for Wendy's with fries or whatever else it might be, okay, or Chick-fil-A, and then dinner having pizza or pasta, some similar crap like that. But then you have the audacity to come and tell me that you're bored with your meals, that you have so many options that you can make, okay, that, again, you don't have to eat the same thing for at least a year straight. Okay. As of 2020, by the way, there were over 5 million different health recipes, truly healthy recipes, high quality recipes, collectively on the internet available to people. That's between desserts, breakfast, lunch, dinners, and snacks. 5 million different. Okay, you don't believe me? Go on Instagram, go to TikTok, go to Facebook, go to YouTube, ask to plug it. You ask us a simple thing like, how do you make healthy, gluten-free organic pancakes? Okay, that are even dairy-free, for example. And you get probably hundreds of videos with different recipes. So people get bored and they think they have to give stuff up. No, the problem is that they're so severely addicted to those foods that it takes time to detoxify those taste buds. Okay. Again, healthy fat, clean protein, fresh herbs, vibrant fruits and vegetables can be so much more satisfying than any processed garbage. Okay. We were designed, okay, as human beings to thrive on natural, whole natural, nutrient dense, rich foods. Okay. So when you have nutrition and flavor, okay, it's unprecedented how much better it is. And again, the more nutrient there are from different foods, the more flavor that is. As a matter of fact, this is how you can tell if something is really, truly, naturally delicious when it has a very strong, good, high quality flavor, because that shows nutrition. Okay, when you eat this way, your taste buds will recalibrate. You start craving high quality instead of quantity poor foods. It's always got. Give it a fair shot. It can take a couple of years to fully get detoxed and recalibrate your taste buds, but you will. Okay, you don't have to choose between health and pleasure. You just have to reconnect with what real food tastes like. Okay, health is not punishment; it's a freedom. Okay, my wife has a phenomenal quote that she has, written on newsletters, emails. It used to be in our walls in our facilities in Tampa. And the preservation of your health is the most important gift you can give yourself and others. If you have health, you have nothing. Okay, you don't believe me? See people that have retired well, some very wealthy, some not so wealthy, but they've retired well and they're ready to enjoy their retirement. And now instead of thriving, they're busted and disgusted and waste their time and money driving to, staying in, and driving from doctors' offices and pharmacies. So remember, health is not punishment; it's freedom, and it's a gift. It's your responsibility to maintain it. Okay. And here we go. Mistake number 1: believing that eating healthy is too expensive or complicated. This one stops so many people before they even start. But eating well doesn't have to drain your wallet or take all of your time. The idea that healthy food is too expensive is mostly a myth. I'm not talking about folks that are in severe poverty or homeless. We're not talking about that. There's the last thing on their mind is right now. Their goal is survival. However, even if somebody on food stamps, and I've seen it happen numerous times, they can still eat relatively healthy. If they're by now, especially with the new rules from HHS, people cannot buy garbage food anymore. Okay, sodas and Cokes and ice cream and candies and all sorts of other junk food. They can buy, real food. Yes, it's not organic or might not be organic, although, again, now you can buy that with the food stamps and stuff that they have. But even still, again, we're not talking about folks that are severe poverty, homeless, or about to be homeless. We're talking about most people. That's why I say this healthy food is too expensive is mostly a myth, because 99.9% of people, it is true for that. So when you focus on whole nutrients, cook at home and plan your meals, you actually save money compared to eating out or buying packaged foods. Okay. We used to teach financial classes from Dave Ramsey in our church a couple of times, and you see people spending thousands of dollars on restaurants. Okay, there's absolutely not a single situation that you'll go out to eat, even a fast food place or a like a regular restaurant, that you will spend less than if you were to cook a nutritious meal of the equivalent at home. No way. Okay. Now, don't forget, you're also saving on medical bills, energy crashes, long-term health costs. Okay. You don't need fancy superfoods or complicated diets. Start simple. Shop the perimeter of the grocery store. Read the labels, as I said before. Cook and prepare more. Hydrate well. Sleep. Manage stress to your stability. Okay. Your body will reward you with better energy, better digestion, better mood, and better longevity by far. Okay. Eating clean isn't about perfection. It's about progress and consistency. So it's not about perfection. It's about continuously moving forward in the right direction. Okay. Every better choice counts. Okay. Now, before I go into my closing thoughts, I want to give you an example. People that have food stamps, because again, some folks do have very limited budget. You can go into any grocery store, especially if you belong to places like Costco and Sam's, BJ's Club, some of those your other discount stores. You can buy rice, bags of beans, that with the addition of different seasonings, herbs on bulk quantities, so it's extremely cheap, and make enough food for months for pretty much pennies on the dollar. Okay, yeah, you might not be eating organic grass-fed beef, although that's getting very cheap as well. You might not be eating seafood, which is obviously more expensive, but it is so much easier, for example, to make a dish from different beans, rice, organic spices, Himalayan salt, put in some grass-fed butter, which is extremely cheap. Again, nowadays they have it, and make a good meal. And oatmeal for breakfast, some nuts, putting some coconut butter in there, some coconut oil, which again, all these things are sold at Costco, BJ's, and Sam's. And a lot of those actually are organic versions, which the organic versions are really not more expensive at all than the conventional. And if they are, it's something very insignificant. So yes, again, you might not be eating a lot of variety of foods, and you might not be eating, the meats, but you can afford eggs, beans, rice, oatmeal, nuts, seeds, which are extremely inexpensive, in massive quantities. And I've seen people do that are severely restricted budget because they virtually are in poverty. Eliminate the processed food and heal themselves, whether it's again losing weight and leaving obesity behind, reversing type 2 diabetes, or at least greatly improving their insulin resistance and blood glucose control. They do it. If there is a will, there is a way. So there's virtually no excuse. If you live here in the United States of America, if you're officially a citizen here, permanent resident, whatever, if you live here, you function, you work here, I don't care what it is, 99.99% of people can eat relatively very healthy. So there's very little excuse to be eating processed food if you want. Okay. Now, in closing thoughts, bottom line is this. This is very happy. Okay, the 10 biggest dietary mistakes people make and how to fix them. Go back, listen to them, take some notes, because as simple as it is so powerful and profound. And if you implement those aspects, I promise you'll see a massive difference in your health. None of this is about guilt or restriction. It's about awareness and freedom. Every day you get to choose whether you want your food to heal you or to harm you. The choice is yours. Your body is designed to thrive. Okay, it's waiting for you to feed it the way nature intended, the way you were designed to function. The more you align your nutritional habits with your biology, the better you will feel and the healthier you will be, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. I can't tell you how many people struggle emotionally and mentally, including deep-rooted depressions and anxiety, because of chronic physical health issues. Okay. So again, in this episode, hit home for you. Okay. And you're realizing your diet might not be serving your health the way it could. I'd love to help you and get clarity on what's going on in your body if you want to. Okay. Whether it's fatigue, gut issues, hormonal imbalances, weight plateaus, or just feeling off, I can help people uncover the root causes and build up a plan that actually works for you. Okay. So visit us at DrPND.com, www.DrPND.com, or call us at 770-905-6451 to schedule a discovery consultation, which is, by the way, free of charge. So let's get you feeling better, performing better, and living fully again. Nutrition doesn't have to be complicated. Again, if you don't have any particular issues, you just want to improve, or if you do have particular issues, but you cannot afford or do not want to, hire or work somebody like me, then start to implement those strategies. There's a lot of free information out there that if you start, you'll be amazed at how fast things start to change. Again, it's not about perfection, but it's continuously moving forward in the right direction. Anyway, this is Dr. PND. Thanks for listening, guys. And remember, you have one body, one chance, and total control over how you treat it. Okay? Feed it well, treat it well, move with purpose, rest well and deeply, and live intentionally. Okay? It will serve you well, I promise you. So until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful week.
Thank you for your valuable time and for listening to the Your Health Reclaimed podcast with Dr. PND. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and share this episode with a person you know it can help. If we can help you in any way, or you would like to connect with Dr. PND, please visit DrPND.com. That's DrPND.com.